There we go.
Warning, this podcast may contain bad language, content that some listeners may find offensive, my balls. Warning, this podcast may contain bad language and content that some listeners may find offensive, especially if you're not willing to stand up for yourself. I got there.
Yes.
I think it's hilarious how, for the actual podcast sake, the recording, that's how you have to do it. But to Twitch, you just look like you had a mental lapse and just repeat it.
It happens, all right. This is the way it goes sometimes.
That is true. It is the way the news goes. So let's kick it off. Welcome, one and all, to Seesaw Podcast, the show that has been advocating for itself for over 3 years. We are live on Twitch as well, so hello to everyone on Twitch. Cleavs is waving. That's as much I can give you, and I'm just sitting here.
We should, in theory, have closed captioning now.
Yes.
Ooh.
Excellent.
I'd like to thank Rachel Furman for helping me out on that one.
There you go. Big shout out. Because we are rookies at Twitch.
She actually helped me out on a lot of stuff, so big old thanks.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Rachel.
I don't know who she is, but thank you.
She's one of your acquaintances. Knows you through a friend.
All right. Well, thanks, Rachel.
Okay, this is a rocky start. So, before we kick off with this episode, we have quite a meaty one tonight, and there's a few things to go through to begin with. But we'll just do the check-ins, as we always do, on what we're doing or how we're doing or whatever you want to say. Please.
I feel that this is a lead-in for you, so I'm just going to say I'm good.
Good. Selina?
You go next then, because now I'm curious.
No, I'm going to unload afterwards, so.
Okay. I went to a chocolate making workshop.
Ooh.
Okay, whereabouts?
In Leicester. Cocoa
okay.
Amore.
Ooh.
Sounds
It was
fancy.
good. Yeah, it was a good experience. Although it kind of made me wonder. I didn't tell them beforehand that I was blind, and it's all this: when should you or shouldn't you disclose your disability? Let's say I had a few blinky moments, embarrassed myself a little bit.
So you said you would say that you did not self-advocate on that occasion.
Correct.
And we'll be getting to that very shortly. So how was tea?
Tea. How are you, T?
I'm pissed off.
Oh,
Okay.
great. What happened?
Okay, so in preparation for a holiday next week, I thought I would go to the barber's and get my beard done.
Right.
Wanted to leave it a week before so like it can settle in, grow in a little bit, and doesn't look so, baby faced certain places.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the barbers I'm now going to, but it was absolutely packed. So I went to the older one that I went to, which I wasn't a huge fan of. They've cut me a few times, but they'd always done a good job. I've just tried another one and they were better.
Mm-hmm.
Go to that one. They're also busy, but they are less busy. And because I'm doing this on my lunch break, I'm like, I can't muck around. Like I'm in the office a fair few days this week. So it's like, this is probably going to be my only opportunity. Just get it done. So, firstly, it takes me 5 minutes to be seen, even though there's a guy who's sitting there, like, he's clearly a barber. He's just chatting to his mate. He lets me wait for 5 minutes before he asks me to sit down in the chair.
He might have been on his lunch break. You were
Then
on
why
your
was he
lunch break.
Well, go in the back then.
Oh, gosh.
Don't let me just wait there. And then it became quite clear that he was, like, new. And I'm like, that's not a big issue. You know what I mean? You can be like Edward Scissorhands, you know what I mean? Everyone starts somewhere. You could still be like, great. And I started getting concerned because he was a bit all over the shop with like the clippers, like taking the length off, a bit all over the shop. But then there's certain places where he was putting a lot of effort in. I was like, okay, this might be okay.
What's he done?
So I used to get a wet shave as well, just to clean up my cheeks and my neck and stuff like that. He's making a complete botch of it. Before he does the wet shave, he takes the tarp off of me and then puts a damp towel over my hoodie to catch hair. I'm like, why the fuck have you done that? Put it on the hair droppy tarp thing, Why are you putting on me? He does such a piss poor job that when he goes to get a hot towel, his mate comes over and tries to tidy it up as much as he can. And at this point, it finished, and I'm like, I'm pissed off at the service. Like, you've kind of been a bit slapdash with it. And I'm like, I would usually tip, but this time I'm like, I'm not tipping you because your mate did the work, like to tidy it up and try and make good on what you were trying to do. And of course, being a blinky, I can't see at the barber, like whatever they've done. They go, oh, is that all right? And you go, yeah, I'm sure Cleavs does this as well.
You knew it wasn't going well, though.
I know it wasn't going well, but I didn't think that, like, you don't think they've done a bad job. And because then I can't see it, I can't call them out on a shit job either. So you just say, yeah, great, pay, go. Then I get home, and my wife goes, have you had your beard done? I went, yeah. And she goes, okay. She goes, look to the side. I went, yep. Look to the other side. Okay. She goes, it's not symmetrical. So I've got one fuzzier cheek than the other. The actual front of my beard is really like scraggly done, where it's like all uneven. And I'm just like, I'm not going back to argue with them. It's like, I can't go back and say, my wife said you did a shit job, fix it.
She offered to go back with you, though.
She did go back with me, and that's even worse. It's like taking your mum back. And frankly, I wasn't best pleased about how the service went, but I was really annoyed afterwards knowing that they'd done a really shit job. So now I have to go to another barber's this week to see if they can salvage some of it.
You know what that place was like, too.
I've never had a bad job in there before. They have cut me once or twice.
But that wasn't bad.
But, you know, the actual trim wasn't bad. But this time I'm just like, I'm done with them. I'm completely done with them. So I'm going to go find another barber. And it's just.
Do you know what the answer is?
Go on.
Don't have a beard.
You know,
everyone has a beard.
You know I'm bald, right?
I know people do these days, but when I think of people, I don't imagine people with beards, but I think there's more people out there than I realise that have beards.
You should ask if you can touch their faces.
Yeah, that's what blind people do, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of annoyed. If I wasn't a blinky, I would have been able to see the job that he'd done in there and would have got them to fix it then.
But don't you feel like straight away there and then, like when I get my haircut, like before I've left, I feel it and like have like, no, bit more off, please, or you know.
Yeah, but we're talking about like the beard line. Like I'm not that dexterous to notice the asymmetry.
Okay.
So you know, it isn't until someone visually looks and goes, actually, it's not even. So you need eyes to make sure it's symmetrical.
Did your barber have eyes?
I assume not, because of the piss poor job. So yeah, kind of annoyed. Wasted my money, and now I'm going to have to waste more money and time getting an actual barber to do it properly. And I don't know what's going to look like afterwards because a lot of length has already been taken off. So there's not going to be much they can do.
It'll grow back.
It will, but will it go back in time for my holiday? No.
Oh well.
You got a week.
Yeah, just try really hard. And that is my beard.
That is so gotta go in like short stories because that was long. That's definitely going to be edited and cut out and labelled T beard disaster.
Bormans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
I've got quick blind news, which I don't know if there's any point because that's going to get cut as well.
We don't know that yet. It might be an incredibly short topic discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, throw your QBN in. Throw your quick blind news in.
Okay. So this is kind of follow-up quick blind news. I genuinely don't know if the last quick blind news was cut or not. But anyway.
UBFU.
You may remember me talking about RNIB asking for names for their brailers, and the results are in. They have gone with Dottie and Bill Brayley.
I like Bill Brayley.
Yeah, Bill Brayley was all right. Yeah, okay.
Dottie's a bit crap, to be honest.
What? Have they only got 2 brailers and all of RNIB?
Two new
Have they
ones
finally
anyway.
realised it's obsolete as well? Is that what it is? RNIB's finally got on board.
Oh, that's good. I like Bill Praley. I like that. I don't have an QBN.
Off podcast here, I've got a comment to make. I can't do it on
Oh,
cast.
problem with live streaming.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Okay, before we get into this topic as well this week, it's not really it's not quick blind news. It's kind of just a quick review of audio description for the Six Nations Rugby offered by ITV. I watched it this week. I watched the England game, England versus Wales. I didn't watch the entire game with the audio description on. I stopped at half-time.
Why? Pray tell.
Good first attempt. It's just not very good.
We need better,
Yeah, what respect?
Like, that's not going to help them improve. It's just not very good.
Okay. So
what's wrong with it? You shit me.
So they had like a lead commentator, and then they had a pundit. I can't remember the last name. Nolly, who's like the England captain for the women's.
Was years back.
Yeah. So she was there to like give like the analysis of the game from like an international player's perspective, and then you had the guy doing the audio description. He wasn't too bad, to be fair. Although sometimes he was focusing on things that I would deem irrelevant, like how far someone's socks were pulled up.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, but when he's saying that and not talking about things like the positioning of a scrum in relation to the pitch, like how far out it is from the line, that's kind of more important for the actual sport.
Depends what you're focused in on.
That's true. If you're going there for the fashion,
they set the ankles.
Nolly, however, not so great. And I think there's just a lack of experience.
Was she commentating or doing audio description?
She was on the audio description feed as like the secondary like commentator. Nolly was giving a lot of valuable analysis of the rugby. But when you go into the audio description, you do want some of that, but you want mainly audio description. And she would go on for around half a minute of like analysing how England were playing, etc. Unfortunately, during this time, the audio description isn't happening. So there were many occasions where a set piece would happen, like a line out. And because I have some sight, I can see that a line out has happened. I can see the result of the line out. If you have no vision, you would not know that that set piece actually happened, because Nolly gets on her track of analysis, wants to get to the end of it, and by the time she's finished, a set piece is already done.
So you're like, the replays, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or on radio, it sounds like they're basically trying to do radio commentary, aren't they? Because you have a pundit and someone describing the action. But on radio, they know when to interrupt to let people know the important bits. And sounds like that didn't happen.
No, it didn't. I think that comes with experience. Also, I chatted to...
This is also going in short stories. Carry on.
Yep. Also,
like we know now.
Yeah. Chatted to friend of the show, Richard, of Unsighted Critics, because he was interested about this because he likes American football and would be interested in like that sort of side of things there. But he raised the point that you listen to the radio. If you have no vision, like all the game on the radio is usually the best way to go. So he's like, who is that actually for?
Partials. Do they have Super Bowl audio description as well?
I don't know.
Should have found
No, it's so you can watch with your like sighted family or friends. Do you know what I mean? Like if me and Santi were watching something, when we watch the football, you can sometimes choose the Radio 5 Live commentary instead of the regular BBC commentary. So it means he gets the visuals and I get the information.
Okay.
That's who it is for.
Well, there's still work to be done. There's still work to be done. And as soon as I changed it back to like the regular commentary, they give quite a lot of detail anyway. So contextually, I think you'd still know what was going on through that. I don't think there was much being added from the audio description one. Glad it's there. It just needs more work.
Okay.
I'm
You
sure
need
the
to
keyboard
contact,
warriors will be on that anyway.
yeah, or broadcasting@rnib.org.uk to share your feedback.
Yes, I shall. Okay,
Cool.
I've said enough. Let's get on to the actual topic of the week, shall we?
Actually, I said very little today.
Yeah, you
Yes.
have.
Well, I'm going to take a rest now, and then you can kick this next bit off then.
No, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. Come on, you've got to self-advocate, mate.
I probably have been. I just not realizing I've been doing it.
That's true. So this week we are talking about advocacy and self-advocacy within the disability sector, world, community. So for those of you who might not know what advocacy is, including Cleavs,
It's a fancy term. I have to learn another one.
advocacy is essentially fighting for others, or in the case of self-advocacy, for your own rights. So it's for a cause, usually it's a cause or a community where attention, change, positive change is required. You raise awareness and push things forward to make those positive changes. So charities do this, people can do it for themselves with self-advocacy, but it's for characteristics like disability. You have it in LGBTQIA+, Black Lives Matter, or an advocacy movement, as an example. So it can come in many, many forms.
Do you find it weird that the word raise can mean to like lift something up, but also flatten it?
Yes.
Just a
I will save that for short stories.
an observation. It's just a weird word.
Okay. So, with that being said, shall we start off with general advocacy and our thoughts on other people, charities, others advocating for causes to begin with,
Okay.
and then we can go on to the self-advocacy afterwards.
Okay.
Sounds like you want to start, Selina.
No, I mean you're full of it today. So
Yeah, but this isn't the T-Saw
I know you.
podcast.
Well, apparently
could be.
it is.
This is your one chance. Advocate for yourself.
I've been doing that all of
Yeah.
this show. 20 minutes in.
You don't want to share your views yet.
I won't share my views yet. I'll save it.
Okay. Okay. What do I think of advocates? Is that the question?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try and be more diplomatic than you'll be.
I won't be.
Oh, yes, that's mean I'll try and keep the balance here.
All right, fine.
Just for the show. For the show. I think it's good that social media has given people a voice, especially people from a minority group such as us in the disability community. That's great. Everybody should have a voice. Everybody should have a say. But I think, is it okay that some people's voices seem to be louder and therefore deemed I don't know what the word is, then because they're louder, they're the voice for everyone. Is that right? I'm not so sure. I find that difficult. I see charities that are supposed to be advocating for me, but feel like I'm not happy with their tone or the way they do it. And there's obviously individuals as well out there that are campaigning and stuff, and that's great, but you don't see advocates that share my views.
Yeah, but Selina,
unless
right.
it's on this podcast.
And even then. Here's the thing, right? I shouldn't have to advocate for myself because the social model tells me that I'm not disabled and it's everyone else's problem. So why the hell do I have to advocate for myself? Other people should be doing it for me. So off you go.
Is that it?
I've got to say so far.
I agree with you, Selina. I'm going to try and also be diplomatic I think advocacy is a really important thing. As we've seen with a lot of other movements that happen in other communities, advocacy can really get a lot of good things done. It's because of advocates that we've had advocates. It's because of advocates that we've had things like the women's movement and so many big changes that have happened, like historically, as well as for the Black and Black community, and like loads of others. Like pretty much everything that's happened, like when we're talking about other minority groups, has happened because of advocacy and people asking those difficult questions and putting pressure on policymakers to make positive change. Because generally they don't listen otherwise. Do I think it's always a good thing though? No, absolutely not. And I completely agree with the whole, it does seem that sometimes the loudest voice is the one that's taken credit as the credible like voice of the community, and I really don't care for that. And that can be a charity, that can be an individual, like you said. I don't like people speaking on my behalf when it's such a specific view they're trying to get across. I think equality, that sort of thing, broader things, absolutely go for it. We want more equality. We want everyone to be treated equally and have the same opportunities. But when it comes to a very specific thing, I don't want an individual being crowned like king or queen of the Blinkies, and their word is what everyone thinks is what the community believes. Because as we've had on this show when we've balanced some topics in the past, we have different views to some of these individuals and campaigns, and I think that's where it gets difficult. And we've had that on the show where we have balanced it out, and we've said they don't speak for me.
Do you think these people are more knowledgeable and that's why people listen to them? I don't know, they might have a doctorate or something and that's why people listen to them more, even if they are full of shit.
Potentially. But at the same time, education doesn't mean that you have the specific qualifications in this area.
Yeah, but you might have life experience.
Yeah, but life experience, I hate that phrase actually. Everyone
In that case, why don't you raise it to the ground?
Everyone has life experience. To quote it is to be redundant. I'm sorry. Everyone has life experience. We can learn from each other, but to use that as some means of credibility it's a facile thing to do. It doesn't work because we all have that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you want someone speaking for you, you want someone that's been through the same shit you've been through, right? You're not going to want someone like advocating for guide dogs that doesn't own a guide dog.
Okay, that's true. But me and Selina are both guide dog users. We both
I wouldn't advocate for him.
We both had 2 guide dogs as well. Like, so we have very similar experiences. If you look at like on the paper, there's going to be a lot of similarities, but we have wildly different experiences. Just like with me and you, we have similar sort of sights, both degenerative conditions. Our conditions are very similar with the peripheral vision, lack of it there, the night blindness, but we have completely different experiences. And although there will be some parallels there, it doesn't mean that I want you talking for me, and it doesn't mean that you would want me talking for you. Just because we have similar life experiences in disability, it means nothing. It can educate and move things forward, but to say that your experience is a definitive experience and policy and change should be made on that, it is very short-sighted.
Great. I know what you're saying, right? But you also put out there that to advocate for something, it's usually to advocate for a cause or something that requires awareness. So if you don't want other people doing it for you, who's doing it?
Well, this gets to my next point. Especially on social media, can we say that these people who are being very loud are actually making positive change, if anything at all? Or are they just stirring the pot now and again? Look at the flash in the pan.
They seem to, again, sweeping statement, because perhaps there are advocates out there on social media that aren't what I'm about to say, but they seem to be very victimized in their approach.
It's because the man's kept them down for so long. They were dealt a bad hand from birth, and that sucks, man.
Yeah. Well,
You've got to fight everyone
I'm-
for that, but only on social media, not in real life or with tangible change.
yeah. I don't necessarily agree with your statement there, Cleavs. But I do agree with Selina's that they do go very much. They do play the victim card quite a lot, and it shows weakness and shows the disability community. We are strong individuals and we are positive individuals on the most part. And when you're dipping into that bucket every single time, it does stigmatize you. And if you have a loud voice, it can stigmatize people around you, and that's a dangerous thing, especially if no positive change is coming out of it. We've seen so many. We've covered topics where we've covered it, and then a week later, it's nothing. We did it last week, but how long is that conversation going to be going when we're talking about whether the DWP can look into people's bank accounts? Is this something that people are going to be talking about in a month?
I forgot we even did that. That was just last week.
There you go. And I haven't seen it from social media. So it's the flash in the pan things. Like it's great to look. It's great to look like an advocate. It's like, yeah, I care about this. But when it comes to tangibly achieving things, Martin Luther King achieved things. Yeah, there's so many like great things that have happened in history. But I think we're done with that now because social media, it's so in the way that it used to be done.
So historic.
It is to a
Remember when people
degree.
used to change things? God, I hated that.
But who do you listen to now? It used to be an advocate meant something, and that was their vocation. That's what they did. They pushed forwards. They wanted to see those positive changes, even if it came at great danger to them. And we've seen that in history.
Benefit cuts, great danger.
Yeah, but that's the same now, except less danger because you can hide behind a screen.
Yep.
Win-win.
Yeah.
And be anonymous.
Oh, but what do you think about social media influencers? They're technically advocates. I mean, because I feel like we're touching more on the Twitter/X side of things. What about those that are trying to spread awareness about visual impairment? What are our thoughts on them? Again, I kind of have similar views myself that they're not representative of myself, but what do you guys think?
Good on them. I mean,
Good on him.
Good on them.
Tip my cap to him.
Like I want to see people doing great things and showing the positive side of disability. I really do. Do I think they're actually changing hearts and minds of the wider society? No. And it's not their fault. Because if you look at apps like TikTok and Instagram, there are studies that have shown that people's retention of information and attention span has gone down significantly over the last generation because of like media is becoming even more and more short form. And so retention is quite a difficult thing to do. Because
That's why it's got to be everywhere and loud.
That's true, but there's only so much you can do. And if people really care about something, they're usually the ones out there creating it. And you might get a couple of likes on a video and stuff like that and some comments. But ultimately, is it going to make that change that you want to see?
Yeah, but is it worth creating even if it changes just one heart and mind?
Yes, it is. But if we're looking at systemic change, it absolutely isn't enough. Yeah, advocates should be the ones battering down like the House of Commons to make this change. And we don't see that at all.
Well, some people have done petitions and stuff that have gone to the House of Commons.
Yeah, and then they get looked over and then they just shuffle it back in to
But they tried to.
Yes, and I'm not knocking anyone who's trying. I'm not. And people who are doing the petitions and stuff like that, I think fair play to them. Like that's shown proactive advocacy, which I think is a really important thing. Instead of people who just moan on Twitter. You know, the people who are doing the petition, they're taking that next step. But then, you just have to look at how many of these petitions actually go through to the House of Commons and things like that. They're hard to get out there. And it's hard to make people care about things. and especially if you are talking about a very narrow topic, if it doesn't affect the wider population, they might
Don't
see
bother, give up.
no, they might see the injustice there, but you're asking for their time, and people are busy and they have other things to do, and
Isn't one of the points of advocacy just to keep fighting over and over and over again?
oh yeah, it never ends.
Just keep pummeling. Pummeling?
Pummeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A word I can't say.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
I'm never gonna knock anyone for doing it. I'm not.
I think you
Well,
kind of
Did
did,
sort of
but
sound like that.
yeah.
I think it's important to do it in the right way. It's important to do it in the right way.
Well, what
Okay.
did you deem to be the correct way?
I think self-advocacy is what we can get onto next then.
So everyone stand up for themselves.
I think
I was
that
really
on the
tempted to start.
granular level, when we're talking your day-to-day experience, self-advocacy is a really important thing. I
Mhm.
think
In the real world. So the thing is, like, social media doesn't always feel like the real world. So let's talk about the real world.
yeah. So self-advocacy really important. Standing up for your own rights. I think the first thing is know what your rights are. I think that's a really important one, especially as a disabled person. I'm not saying go and read the Equality Act, but there are summaries of it out there. Like you can go and read up on it just in bullet points of roughly what is, what your rights are.
Reasonable adjustments.
Yes, that's it. So you've got to have a basic knowledge of this so that you know what you're fighting for. As well as that, you have to be willing to educate people as well. I think self-advocacy, it isn't just pointing out the issues in the law, but also working with people to make that change, because that will help other people going forwards as well. Like access refusals with like assistance dogs.
Yeah.
Self-advocate for yourself.
But
Know
how
what the
would you do
laws-
that? Give me a good example of how you would do that in the T correct way.
Should we play this out? I'll be the taxi driver.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, role play. That's
Yeah.
what we've been waiting for on this podcast, haven't we? Bit of drama.
Okay.
All right, bro, do you order a taxi?
Yeah, mate.
All right, get in the back.
Okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What's with this dog?
It's a
Just for you, sir. Just for you. I know it said Uber Access when I pulled up, but it is just for you. I'm not having a dog in my car.
I'd just like to point out that it is a legal obligation of you as a registered driver with Uber, which conform to the 2010 Equality Act. That is a legal requirement.
Sounds like bullshit, mate. You got a legal requirement to hoover the back of my car after your dog's been in there.
If that's something that concerns you, you can bring that up with the people at Uber. You can chat to your line manager. But at the moment, if you refuse to take him, it will be a breach of the law. And you're within your right to do that. But just know that there will be communications with the company, Uber, to make sure that you have sufficient training. And seeing as you are an Uber Access car, you would have had training on this, because it is on the website that this is a part of the training. So this is not a foreign concept to you. And if you haven't had the preparations in place to potentially keep your car clean.
I'm revving my engine at this point.
I literally thought you must have driven off by now and he's talking to himself.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. But that's how you do it.
That all sounds great, bro. But I'm 5-star with 10,000 ratings. 1 star me, don't matter. At best, I'm still going to be 4.9. People aren't going to say no to this Uber.
Okay. And we'll leave it there. Because that's a situation you're clearly not getting through to someone. Just contact Uber, order another one. You know what I mean? Order another one and contact them about that driver. You'll have their records on the app.
Other taxi fare services are available.
Yep. But like with that instance there, it's like, let them know what the law is and let them know what their obligations are. At no point should you shout at them, get aggressive. You just have to be calm and informative with it. And we've all seen the videos on social media of someone getting in huge arguments at like a hotel reception and stuff like that. We've seen them.
Yeah, those things raise awareness.
They don't raise awareness. They show us as angry people. And it
Liminally, they
usually
do it at
doesn't
the time.
help.
Sometimes for blocks around, and then through social media.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a good argument.
Yeah, but it doesn't change anything. People just go on Facebook, oh my God, have you seen this? 10 million views. What changes? Nothing.
Well, they might at the cab company in it, and then they'll be forced to do stuff. Sometimes they boycott cab companies when shit like that happens.
True.
Loss of earnings. Social media can be a very powerful tool.
True, but what if the cab company has given the training to that individual? They've just chosen not to follow it because they've just had their car cleaned.
Well,
Are they responsible for that person if they're provided the appropriate training?
yeah, I mean, you totally are. You're responsible for your own employees, aren't you? But then, you can either retrain them or fire them.
That's what I mean. You know, there's HR policies to be used there, but then that's when the company should make clear what their policies are and the situation, so that if they are being boycotted, they can negate that. I don't want to see other people lose their livelihood who are very good at their job and very accepting just because of one dickhead who chose not to follow the rules. They shouldn't be boycotted. They shouldn't lose their fares. They might be really good. I've had some fantastic taxi drivers who've been nothing but accommodating with my guide dog. They've been great.
I felt like you couldn't name Ted then for legal reasons. My
He's
guide
currently
dog.
embroiled in a court case, ongoing
No,
legal action.
both of my guide dogs. I've had great experiences with both of them. I've also had awful ones with both of them. But
Okay.
That's it. I mean, that's a very cringy role play of how I would advocate. And
I've got a different scenario for you next, but carry on.
Oh, I got sorry for you as well, Selina. So, up to you. Do you want to go first?
Oh, go on then.
I'm not doing another role play. You two can play this out.
Okay, fine. Selina, right? You're in a wheelchair.
Okay. I mean, this isn't something that I'm gonna say I definitely know. Okay.
That's fine. In this scenario, you're in a wheelchair, and there's some steps up to a restaurant, and you've got a booking, and you're meeting, I don't know, your husband there, but he's showing up late, so you want to get into the restaurant, but you can't get up the steps, and I don't know, let's say I'm on the door.
Okay. Hello.
Hi.
So I've got to shout
You're right
because
there.
you're like far away. Hello.
How you doing? How can I help?
Well, you can see that I'm in a wheelchair. Have you got a ramp at all available so I can get into the restaurant?
Yeah, 1 second. I've just got one in my back pocket. I'll fold it out for you.
No, like seriously, do you have a ramp?
No, however, if you're happy for me to do so, I can help you up the stairs with your wheelchair.
And how do you think that might work?
I will take the back of your wheelchair and gently pull you up the stairs while you sit in it.
I'm really not sure that's the most appropriate way to help a wheelchair user.
How would it be best for me to help you in this scenario? Because unfortunately, we don't have any ramps here and the building is listed, so we're not actually allowed to make any adjustments to the building. I'm willing to help you, but you let me know and I'll do it.
Okay. I'm happy to crawl into the restaurant. If I get out of my wheelchair, can you carry it up the stairs for me and I will crawl up your stairs?
Absolutely, no problem at all. Would you like any assistance yourself?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Let me know when you're ready and I'll take the wheelchair up for you.
Okay, and I'm kind of hoping you're then gonna like offer me a free drink or something for the inconvenience of this and be a little bit more understanding.
I thought I'd helped you quite a lot.
Hmm.
There's nothing I can do about the building, unfortunately. I've already explained to you that it is listed, so we are actually unable to make adjustments to the building. But I do feel like I have tried to help you as much as possible, and I apologize profusely if you do not think that I've done a good job.
Do you have an accessible toilet inside?
Yes.
Okay,
Providing
great.
you don't need to use it.
Okay, let's leave that there. That was awkward, but I think that kind of shows the point that these conversations can be awkward.
Well, I was trying to go down a different route that time, and the person was willing to help, but at the same time, like not everyone knows what it is, and sometimes there are actual
Yeah.
barriers that you just can't get around sometimes.
That's true. And I'm not an expert in wheelchair access issues at all. So maybe there's other things that can be. Maybe there are temporary folding ramps similar to trains. I don't
I'm
know if
not
that's
sure.
the thing.
But I know I did see on social media earlier that somebody in a wheelchair got to a train station and the lift was out of order. And I don't know if it was a train guard or member of the public, or I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember the article exactly, but they did crawl up the stairs to get out of the station and they were laughed at. That was in the metro today. And I guess that's the like, they're just trying to get on with their lives and get on with it, but you don't need to be laughed at for that. That's
But how
wrong.
much do you need to necessarily do that? Because is sometimes advocating for yourself just swallowing your pride a little bit?
I think
That's
it
a good
is.
point. It's a good
think-
point.
Yeah.
You didn't need to crawl up them stairs, did you? Like you
We
could
need-
have asked someone just to pull the wheelchair up.
I don't know if you can physically do that with a wheelchair. I mean, we need to ask a wheelchair user with regards to the practicality of that. I mean, it's not a buggy. I mean, it's not like a little baby inside. It's
Yeah, no, but I imagine if you're okay with it in the wheelchair, then it's
but
fine.
someone
Like,
could injure themselves, and then what? You're going to be liable.
Or they can
Like
hurt
if they
you.
pull their back, and yeah,
You're
it
putting
seems
trust in them to do a good job on that. And what if they stack it and drop you down the stairs?
yeah, but I do that. Like, when I turn up to a restaurant, right, and if I'm the first one there, and I'm part of the group table, and I don't know where the table is, I will literally ask the waiter or waitress sometimes, "Am I right just to put my hand on your shoulder as you walk, just so I can see to get
yeah.
there?" And they've probably got zero experience with helping a person with a visual impairment, but I've never had anyone that said no.
And have they walked you into stuff? Because that does happen.
Yeah,
And
a
then
little
are you
bit, but they
bothered
don't.
by that? But you're
Yeah,
not
no,
bothered, are
but
you?
I mean,
It
they've
like
done,
they're trying to
they've done
help.
yeah, they've done
Yeah.
the best, and they don't really know much better, and they probably will a little bit more next time. But I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's educating people one at a time, isn't it? Like, it's getting but then you're happy to have that conversation. And yeah, we're not experts on wheelchair users here and the logistics of access and stuff like that.
The point kind of remains, like, it can be a bit embarrassing sometimes asking people for help, but how do you get around just not being embarrassed by it? Just you can't really. You just gotta fucking do it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's true. Also on the whole listed building side of things as well, like if that's the case, surely there should be, I don't know if this is actually something that needs to be done, but declaring on a website that there's no ramp, maybe, so that people can see beforehand, before booking, that it's not an accessible location.
Some venues have that. Some concert venues because they're old.
Yeah.
Say.
So
Yeah.
maybe that should be the mainstay for everyone. Like they should all have to declare whether they are accessible.
But I just mean hypothetically, you come across a barrier like that you can't necessarily get around. I don't navigate my way through a brand new restaurant I've never met before. Like I've never met the restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I've never been to before.
Yeah.
I can ask someone if they'll help me to the table.
Yeah, that's true. And there are people who will advocate for themselves in different ways. When I trained as a PT years ago, it was for disabled people. There was a young lad in a wheelchair on that course who lived in London. And we just got chatting one day and he was like, yeah, well, the lifts break down sometimes. I was like, what do you do then? He goes, well, they got an escalator and I'm fine. It's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll do the escalator with a wheelchair. It's like, I've got a system. Like,
ooh.
And he showed me a video of him.
That'll
like,
make a good TikTok.
Yeah. He showed me a video of him doing the escalator in his wheelchair. He just bossed it. And he's like, I know a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable with that, but quite an athletic guy, quite strong, hold on to the rails. He said the only issue is when you've got some dickhead who's like, can you move, please? He's like, no. Wait until I'm down. But people advocate for themselves in different ways in what they're comfortable with. And yes, maybe swallowing some pride is important sometimes. Yeah, it's a battle we all have to have now and again. But I don't know, with the listed building, it's hard to educate people on the law because
it's just an example. It's just a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, I know,
where you can't get around.
And in that situation, it wasn't something that could be gotten around.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely, that's fair.
Okay.
So what
I've got
else can we do?
I've got a slightly different scenario. So we're talking about advocacy, and advocacy for self-advocacy can be in lots of different ways. So everyone has the right to have friends and friendships, and we know that being visually impaired can sometimes feel quite socially isolating because it's difficult to get out there and meet people, not being able to give eye contact or walk up to people. So say for instance you've started a new job, or a bit unrealistic, isn't it, for disabled people? No, it's safe.
Oh, shit.
Live on Twitch.
I joke. You start a new job, or you started university, or even if you were at school. How would you go about self-advocating and making friends? Should you be expecting people to come to you and make that first step? How could you make that first step and those friendships?
Glad you asked. The pride swallowing, let's not give a fuck about my own disability approach. Patent pending from Cleavs. I'm going to come up with a better name.
Okay.
It's called the FU approach. I've just renamed it instantly. You just can't be embarrassed about your disability, because if you are, other people are. If you're not, other people just really don't see it as much of a problem, and you just take part as much as possible. That's how I've grown up.
Yeah. That's good advice. I mean, the name needs a bit more work, but I think it's a really, and that's hard to do. Like, let's not
It's
say,
very hard to do.
let's not say that it's an easy thing. Oh yeah, just don't give a fuck. Like, it's not that easy. It is very hard to do. And
to my training course, I'll show you.
and even if you do, nail it on a few occasions, there will be times where you're not comfortable doing that. You know what I mean? It's
You don't have to show it.
I think that's it.
Go home and cry, which is really bad advice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Go on Twitter. No,
But how do you not be embarrassed by your disability? Give me more information on how I'd go about doing that. How does that enable me to make friends?
The best I can tell you is if you don't see something as a problem, it's almost like a sort of mob mentality. So if you don't see something as a problem, people also won't see things as a problem. If you're having fun with something, they will see it as a fun thing to do. Like if things go wrong with your disability and you're okay to laugh at yourself, people also find it okay to laugh with you. Look, by the by, you're going to get a bit of both. But if you are seen to have not been bothered by it, other people think you are not bothered by it. If people think you are bothered by it, then they're sort of cautious and they tiptoe around it. And I don't think that's necessarily conducive to making new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. If you make it awkward, people, the normal able-bodied, I don't want to say normal, the able-bodied community, they're already a little bit funny, a bit sensitive, don't know what to do when it comes down to disability. Just look at the countless campaigns that charities do about normalizing disability, and it's still awkward. So to expect other people to be, it's going to be a certain type of person, extrovert, who's going to be the one to come up to you and make things, like kick things off. So I think you have to try and lead a little bit. Like it's hard, but I think also going with the whole don't make your disability your identity.
Mm-hmm.
The first conversation you have doesn't have to be about what your needs are, unless you are asking someone for help. But if you're just trying to make friends, it doesn't have to. Yeah, I'm not saying you tell them about your love for fishing or pot making before you ask them if you could have help to the bus. But if it's just like I'm making a friend scenario, like the disability, that shouldn't even have to come up. Like, unless it really has to at the end or whatever situation, like if the circumstance change, try and make common ground and let people know that you are just a human being, just like them. Get the common ground, and then the disability is just a secondary thing. It just means you have a couple of requirements, a little bit of help's needed in certain situations, but don't lead off with like, oh, blah 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 blah. And I try and jump on things like that and just try and like chat to people and get to know them before that can even happen. Because we've all had those situations where someone just jumps straight into disability, and I'm just like, really? That's what you want to know about me? That isn't my identity.
Don't want to know about your dog, not you.
Yeah, but I think if you want to combat that, then chat with them. People love to talk about themselves, so ask them about themselves. Try and get common ground outside of it, and then if it comes up afterwards, it's out of curiosity, like, and it could be done as them knowing that you are a person, not a disability. Again, tricky to do. It's not always going to go right, but that can really help with co-workers, like schoolmates, anything like that. Get common ground with people. Then the disability, they just won't see that. They'll see you for the other stuff that you have in common and the discussions you've had outside of that.
Also, I'm going to say, try and take part in what other people might deem able-bodied activities, even if you can't fully involve yourself in those activities. For example, if you're visually impaired and everyone's like, oh, let's go to a football game, and there are a bunch of new people, you can go, yeah, sure. All right, you're probably not going to see a lot of the game, but you can have a few beers, have a laugh, soak up the atmosphere, get to know people.
Yeah. That's very true.
Definitely.
Don't insist. Don't say, no, fuck that. Let's go and watch some audio described goal.
Yeah.
Because you'll be on your own.
Or just don't say I don't want to go because I can't see it.
Yeah.
You have to
don't create the barriers.
Yeah. That's a good one. Don't create your own barriers.
There you go.
Make the best of all situations. Yeah. Comes with arm movements for those that can see them.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
The AD there. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm working on it.
Better than ITVs. Okay, so
very good words. As you say, just to add to that, definitely from summarizing what you said, you should be confident, be brave, be casual about your disability, and others will follow.
There you go.
Soundbite.
I think that is a perfect place for us to round things out. So I'm not even going to try and summarize the episode because what Selina said was so fantastic. As always,
I've not heard that word in a while for you.
We don't want it to go to your head.
Yeah.
Oh, please insert the bell when you do it. I missed that.
The bell?
The ding!
Oh, what, for amazing?
Oh, is it amazing, not fantastic? I feel like it says fantastic a lot. I
have thesaurus. I've got it running up here. I've got it alongside Twitch.
I decided after a while as well that after like an episode of doing that it was actually quite mean, and I thought, no, I'll stop doing that.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Maybe I mean.
So on that, let us know what you think about advocacy. Any other tips that you have for being an advocate, self-advocation, or just general advocation for the community. What do you think? Let us know at all of the things coming up, and we're going to stop recording. But we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Seesaw Podcast. Your feedback and comments mean a lot to us, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so in the following ways.
You can find us on X at Seesaw Pod, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Seesaw Podcast. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com and you can stream with us live every week on Twitch at Seesaw Podcast.
Remember to like, rate, review and share with a friend.
This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.